Worry at them now, mates. Who that call feds? Can't believe I my dog them. Them put friend on stock market so them buy and sell out and one trade. Stormy nights. I fi be a soldier, me a live the army life. Me see the warning pon the craven, strongly cut even nice. Them a ease the pain, the journey and the light. Me a fight with crazy tears I run out of me eye. I fi find a way in the dark without a light. Mount of obstacles, my brother, mount of sacrifice. Sometimes I feel fin them in the dark without a light. Mount of obstacles, my brother, mount of sacrifice. Sometimes I feel fin them food and then me lose me appetite. And now every time I fight fire with fire. Never surrender, but sometimes me use prayers. Still have to walk all when me feel tired. Them would have feel better if me did that.
Yes, sire, yes, sire, yes, sire. Chronic Law. Love that tune. Love that tune. Link up the peeps, link up, link up, link up.
What till the end, yo. Me could all for myself now, but all me defend, yo. Born soldier. What till the end, yo. What till the end, bro. Me could all for myself now, but all me defend, yo. Born soldier. Yeah, them left me stranded in a desert with nobody. When I have water, just my tears for me. Them space so we can't win. Go and bring my body in a church like a friend. Go and hold them charge it. Loyalty we destroy with. It's like we train for the army. Them a fight a war but them can't win. Father God, me not have gathering again. I just you and the fire me apart with. The place get dread from balling. Somebody rasta warrior them now mates. Who that call feds? Can't believe I my dog them. Them put friend on stock market so them buy and sell out and one trade. Stormy nights. I fi be a soldier, me a live the army life. Me see the warning pon the craven, strongly cut even nice. Them a ease the pain, the journey and the light. Me a fight with crazy tears I run out of me eye. I fi find a way in the dark without a light. Mount of obstacles, my brother, mount of sacrifice. Sometimes I feel fin them food and then me lose me appetite. But I war till the end, yo. War till the end, yo. Me could all for myself now, but all me defend, yo. Born soldier. War till the end, yo. War till the end, bro. Me could all for myself now, but all me defend, yo. Born soldier.
Good evening, and welcome everybody. Good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to Portland Spice TV.
Hey, DJ Wanted, a body or body.
Yeah, man. Welcome to Portland Spice TV on this Monday evening. Now, this is not usual, and saw the need to really update our people. I will tell you now that Portland Spice TV, we are going to be bringing it to the people. Yeah, man. We're going to be bringing it to the people so as to ensure that Portlanders and people who log on to this platform and listen on a regular basis for the truth, because that's what we talk right here. The truth. Yeah, man. Every time. So we are going to provide you with lots of different programs, and that's why we say, when you go on to Portland Spice TV, make sure you click the notification button. That whenever we hit live, and you know, so when we hit live, it's real thing. We don't come with gimmicks and propaganda. We not do that. We not do that. We don't have no time for that. We don't have no time to spread no propaganda. When we come forward, it is the truth and nothing but the truth. Yeah, man. And our aim is to educate our people through entertainment so as to elevate our people. Yeah? Because I'm telling you something, you know, life is dynamic. This thing, your life, it's not static. really dynamic. And we try to ensure that we play our part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. That's what we do. We don't just sit down and play a fool to catch wise. So click the notification button. Ensure that you do that. So when we come on, Gilly, bless up Toronto in the house. Yeah, man. Just got a message from Dr. Guy that he's running a bit late. I understand that he's on some other program because Dr. Guy hot right now. Because the man spoke last year. He went to Cornwall Regional in May, just after the budget debate. And he said that what he saw at Cornwall Regional, he believed that it would cost between 10 and 12 billion dollars so as to complete Cornwall College, Cornwall Regional Hospital, between 10 and 12 billion dollars. And he was rubbished by Dr. Christopher Tufton. Dr. Tufton said, "No, know where the man get that from." So, spoke to Dr. Guy yesterday. I said, "Doc, I'm going to need to talk to you so that my listeners and my viewers can get a sense of what is happening at Cornwall Regional. But also, for those of you who used to listen to me in another place, Byfield, big up yourself, man. Big up yourself, my brother. We're going to have a talk, you know. We're going to have a talk. We're going to have a talk because here what you do for my Byfield. Send a WhatsApp to me on 4221103. Send me a WhatsApp on that and I send you a link because we need to talk to you upon this discussion here because we know say you have a whole heap of thing where we need to talk about as well. So bless up yourself, my brother. Yeah, so Cornwall Regional, the whole issue, I took some beating back in 2016 when I said on my program at another place that the minister was making a bad decision. We never hold no strain. We never hold back. We said it up front that the minister of health was making a bad decision at the time. We said it. Tear down the hospital. And we have Dr. Guy ready here. So let me just bring him in right away. Dr. Guy, good evening.
Good evening, Sir Shaka. How are you?
We're good, you know, Doc. We're good, you know. We're good, man. Blessings.
Good.
No, I was just telling my listeners and my viewers that last year you went to Cornwall Regional and you told them at Cornwall Regional, you told them in the interview that Cornwall Regional, by your estimate, would cost us somewhere between 10 and 12 billion dollars. That came to pass, Dr. Guy, and I want to play that. I want to play that clip for my listeners.
Government is putting little to no effort in completing the rehabilitation of the Cornwall Regional Hospital in Montego Bay, St. James.
If the government was really serious about it, we think that they should have used the authority of the cabinet to get emergency procurement to do Cornwall, to rehabilitate Cornwall.
Since 2016, the Type A facility has been undergoing major rehabilitation. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton, during his contribution to the 2020-2021 sectoral debate in July of last year, says the government has expended more than $3.5 billion.
When one looks at the budget that was presented in the parliament in the year 2020 to 2021, there was an estimated $5+ billion more for completion of Cornwall Regional by 2023. We are estimating, based on what we see and based on what has been happening, that this is probably going to come out at the end of the day about 10 to 12 billion Jamaican dollars.
Dr. Guy has taken issue with the government's decision to seek international contractors.
We think that for the minister to have made that particular suggestion is really foolhardy, and I think he was misadvised to have made that particular recommendation. We understand that contracts above a certain level have to be tendered or can be tendered internationally, but you cannot say the reason that you have to go international is because the quality of service and the potential for Jamaica.
Also of concern is the amount of money that has been budgeted for roofing fixtures.
The total amount was $200+ million of a 96 initial contract. You know, things it's a dolly house.
Robian Williams.
Dr. Guy, you said it back then. The minister is now saying that $10 billion up from what, 5.6?
Thereabouts.
Talk to us about what you saw then that had you giving us that figure. Because I also remember that after you said that, you were rubbished by the minister asking where you get that from. Speak
Well,
to us.
his actual words were, and I think I want to paraphrase him as best as I can without looking at the narrative. He said that he does not know, after he rubbished the claim, he said he does not know where his parliamentary colleague got that figure, because that's not the figure he's working with. And he will seek to have dialogue, a conversation with him to find out how he came by those figures. Now,
Did
what
that
I
dialogue
saw,
take place?
no, it didn't take place. It didn't take place, which I wasn't surprised about, What I saw then was, yes, the roof was completed, moving from about just under $100 million to over $200 million. I think it was 117% over cost overrun. And we
Increase.
saw then that there was significant improvement in terms of digging away at the foundation, the basement, for the support columns. Some of the beams had, I think they call it spalding, where the there was rusting off the beam rebars, and that they had to clean them and recover it with concrete. So there was significant work to be done. But when you factor into the work that was to be done, that the partitions were gutted and you had to put in new partitions, as was being contemplated. You were putting a new roof over the atrium. You were doing a rehabilitation of the operating theaters. I mean, what was then projected looked good, but it would not have costed just that amount. And part of the challenge we had was that the project management of the whole project was weak. You could not have the person who was the project manager for the Western Regional Health Authority being the project manager for Cornwall Regional Hospital redevelopment. That you need an on-site and a constant person there to be managing a project as immense as that. You had I think that we all recognize that when you pull a old building, you might run upon some things that you did not anticipate that were there. But you had senior people, you had engineers, you had project managers who were giving the government what they thought was a credible estimate of what needed to be done. No.
Dr. Guy, you think it was a bad decision to refurbish instead of rebuild, break down the entire building and rebuild a hospital?
They say hindsight is always good, That's a 2020. The truth is that in terms of the cost that is going to pan out to be, you could have built 2 hospitals for that capacity with the same money.
As you mentioned, hindsight, and I was saying to my viewers and listeners earlier, for those of them who've been listening to me from 2016, right at the get-go, I took a lot of beating when I said, hit down the building, build a new hospital. I was saying that from 2016. And quite a number of people used to call me and ask me if me a builder, and when me know So now that we are at this stage,
Mhm.
for me it's not hindsight, but do you think it was a bad, even with hindsight, no. Do you think it was a bad decision?
Well, certainly in terms of the cost that is going to create, it was a bad decision. But I think, Colin, there are two things that we have to look at. You're going to be rehabilitating Cornwall Regional Hospital, a 400-bed hospital, okay?
Talk to me.
To to facilitate a population around Montego Bay that was back in the time of 1970, 70, 72,
72,
74,
74, yeah.
when Cornwall Regional Hospital was open. So we have not factored into it the population growth around the area. We have not factored into it the fact that there is a significant developing tourism, right? Um, Entity around Montego Bay and its surroundings. Because at the end of the day, one of the determination as to where visitors would want to go is to know that in the peradventure there is any mishap with them, that they have first class medical facility that they can be shunted to. So Cornwall was built to accommodate a certain population in the 1970s. Now we are 2023, right? With a significant growth in Montego Bay population. It may be that very soon, because there's no space really that you could think of putting at Cornwall again, now that you have put the Children's Hospital, Western Children's and Adolescent Hospital there. You may have to build another hospital very shortly to
Talk to me.
accommodate, right, the number of persons who you'll have to serve in the Montego Bay area. Now, I cannot say that in good conscience I would be one of those supporters. Though looking at hindsight now is a different matter than
Right.
to say that no. Because Cornwall, it has a lot of what you call it now, sentimental value to people down there. And when you think about the dislocation that it would have cost, what you would have needed to do is to just do the services as currently existed, build a new structure somewhere else, demolish that old one after relocating the services there. And then you could think about building the hospital to cater for the expansion and the growth of the population in Western Jamaica.
Dr. Guy, you just mentioned that between 10 and 12 billion dollars could have built two hospitals. So let us reasonably say, all right, $7 billion build a new hospital. We are going to be losing between 3 and $5 billion. Who is to be held responsible for that money? That's taxpayers' money that we need in this country. Who is to be held responsible for that kind of money?
Um, You know, I was on a program a while ago, as I indicated to you, and I usually like to research my things for the program. Anything. I would like to be forearmed and prepared. I'll answer it by showing my listeners and viewers this.
Taking responsibility.
That was the 2018 sectoral presentation by the minister. So, to answer your
28.
question, 20 from as far back as 2018,
Yes.
taking responsibility for health sector. So,
Mhm.
we know our minister has a particular predilection for when things are good, and hug it up and say yes.
Mhm.
But when it's not so nice, him we probably ask the CMO if he say it or some other junior technocrat in the ministry. He has to take responsibility for everything that
Because
happens.
I heard him now start saying he inherited Cornwall Regional.
He did. He
Yes.
did. But guess what? He has been minister for the past 7 years, right? In fact, the elections of 2016 was when again, Colin? February
2016.
what?
February 2016.
Yes. Okay. And we're the penultimate day of February now.
February
Right.
2023.
Right.
7 years.
7
7
years.
full years.
Right. Now, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, he was taking responsibility, right? He's the minister now. So no matter what happened prior to him, what happened in the system, he is the minister.
Govern.
The constitution, the parliament, sorry, the constitution gives him, cabinet has appointed him the minister. He has over responsibility for the health sector in Jamaica.
Could you be the CEO of a private company and lose $3 billion and still have your job by making a bad decision?
I'm trying to think of any adverse circumstances in which that could happen, but I don't, off the top of my head, no,
You couldn't still have your job.
no.
Somebody online is asking if there was enough space at Cornwall Regional to do all that you said a while ago
All that I said about what?
in terms of tearing down the building, moving some of the services and all of that.
No, no. What I said was that you could identify another site because I don't think there was enough space there, right? No, even now when we have the building of the Western Regional Children and Adolescent Hospital,
Mhm.
identify another site, build another hospital there, keep the facility going until the
Right.
new hospital is finished. Then you relocate those, and then you do after that.
Oh, that was coming from Gilly out of Toronto.
Mhm.
Fitzroy out of Florida is saying, good evening, everyone. Somebody should be arrested for that money. The question I want to put to you, Dr. Guys, why is the opposition not calling for the Auditor General to go in and do a full audit of what is happening at Cornwall Regional?
Well, we have not called for it yet, but it is something that having regard, and I've seen this particular budget being presented now, then there are questions that are going to be asked. And the Standing Finance Committee meets Wednesday and Thursday of this week, wherein the questions are going to be asked of the minister, and we hope to get some answers. Following that, now if a decision is taken to say, okay, it warrants an investigation or audit, then certainly that might be a decision that has to be taken.
With the government saying that they can't find $1.5 billion to do a local government election,
Mhm.
but they are willing and they have put in the budget all the additional billions for Cornwall Regional. How is that so easy?
You know, Colin, it is easy, but I particularly wouldn't want to into the argument of trading off health as opposed to another thing. No, no,
It's
I
just
know
how
you're
easy
not
to
trading
find
off.
money, not trading off.
No, but to be fair to them, it is 2 point plus billion they're finding this year.
For
It does
Cornwall,
not, huh?
for Cornwall
For
Regional.
Cornwall Regional.
Mhm.
It does not, however, absolve them of the fact or the need to find the 1.5 billion for local government election, right?
Understand.
Let us look in another area because remember, revenues are
It's up.
far exceeded their projections for last year and for this year, right? So basically, right, the argument that they are advancing is I would want to use another term, but I'll use one that starts with B to bullocks, bullocks.
Somebody said that people are dying in wheelchair at Cornwall Regional while
Mhm.
the government is dragging their feet. How do we know, Dr. Guy, get St. James, the western end of the island, to be comforted by all that the minister have been saying? Because he said to Emily Shields and RGR that he's now comfortable to say that Cornwall Regional is going to be complete. And in
Mhm.
my research, I found that he said those very same words in the 2015 debate. The 2022 debate.
2022 debate.
Yeah. He said the exact words. What do we say to the people of the Western region? No.
Well, you know, before we say what to say to the people of Western region, in fact, in Montego Bay, there are a lot of questions, a lot of tongues wagging as to why it is costing $10 billion. And a lot of tongues are saying that some, I mean, and I can quote people are saying some fish are in the business. The truth is that the people of Western Jamaica in particular those who are served by Cornwall Regional Hospital should be quite irate over the fact that it is going to cost so much of their taxpayers' money to to rehabilitate Cornwall Regional Hospital, right? They are they are not particularly happy. In fact, they have not been happy that the restoration of Cornwall has dragged on for so long. They have not been happy that the piecemeal approach to Cornwall Regional Hospital has been what it has been. They have not been satisfied that the level of service that has been provided by the makeshift camps of clinics and A&E over the place, where you have people who are in chairs who need a bed but have to be sleeping for a couple of days in bed to get care, is desirable. So they're dissatisfied over a lot of things. But I want to say now, Colin, that although the discussion is on Cornwall Regional Hospital right now, that experience is replete across many hospitals in this country. So
We
you
hear
go to TAKL.
we have to go there tonight. But before we start getting to that, I want to ask you, as opposition spokesman on health,
Mhm.
had the PNP been in power, what you would have done differently?
Well, first of all, I mean, you saw something in one of the clips that you played earlier on, or you heard something in one of the clips. It is my view, and I still maintain um, that I would advocate for um, sole sourcing, emergency procurement for the rehabilitation of Cornwall Regional Hospital, as long as it has proper oversight,
So you
emergency
try to get the
procurement.
money faster.
Get the money faster, spend the money faster, delay costs money, right? Two, um, we would ensure that the services that are provided by Cornwall Regional Hospital would be provided in better surrounding resources, I mean surrounding environment, so that people would not be as discomforted as they are now. Now, it probably would mean that collectively we would have decided that we would build a new hospital, based on what was happening. But I would have, like everybody else, started on the road to rehabilitate Cornwall Regional Hospital. The pace at it was done, right? And the whole aspect of COVID intervening, yes, that's a truism, but that's not something that you're gonna flog or
But
flog,
the
right?
history of Cornwall Regional, Dr. Guy, is
Hmm.
that Cornwall Regional was a Canadian design hospital
Hmm. Been
built
for
in
temperate country.
built in a tropical country. And
Hmm.
my research also told me that the Buff Bay Hospital was
Hmm.
closed in an effort to move some of those funds to maintain Cornwall Regional. Are you aware of any of that?
No, I'm not aware of any of that, but I know that in the 1980s, um, a significant review of the health sector was done under the JLP-led government, and many hospitals were downgraded. Isaac Barrant,
In St. Thomas,
Buff Bay
in
in
Portland,
Portland, Port Maria was on the
in St.
verge of
Clair.
being, and we had a public protest, and the people them, and then they then changed
And,
course.
and you see,
Um,
Port Maria was saved.
the one up in St. Anne, I'm trying to remember the name of it now, up in the also Spring in Trelawney, the one up in St. Anne, near the border with Clarendon. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Um, and Noel Holmes was also given some downscaling, and this is what happened across the country, right? Because they said the demographics did not lend itself to having all of these hospitals about the place. Now, we have seen in some instances a reversal of some of it, but basically what has replaced those hospitals are clinics,
Because
which
that's
don't
what we see in
really
Buff Bay now. A
above
big
this
clinic.
really a clinic, right? Which does not give the full service and level of coverage as a hospital does. So I
And
can't speak to the fact that money was shunted from these hospitals due to closure to speak to Cornwall, but I can specifically speak that in the 80s we had a closure of many of these hospitals, right, which were downgraded to polyclinics or just clinics or just shut.
Let's move to the minister's performance, Dr. Guy,
Mhm.
because there have been a number of things. Market me,
Mhm.
that whole investigation. What has been the last thing you have heard on the Market Me saga?
Well, I guess you and I are in the same position because since the last report and nothing further has happened where that is concerned. Um, the Auditor General's investigation into the matter was presented to the Parliament, and there was a discussion in the committees, but it has not gone any further. We understand the contract no longer exists, right? We were told at first that the proprietary rights to market to Jamaica Move did
Jamaica
not
Move.
reside in the ministry, but we have been told that has come back at no cost to the government, you know. So the truth
But
is, I don't know.
weren't we promised an investigation?
My memory fails me right here now to specifically to speak of that particular aspect of it,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to commit to say it was or it was not.
I am almost sure we were promised an investigation into that. But let's move to the baby saga.
Hmm. No.
Dr. Christopher Tufton, under his watch,
Hmm.
12 to 14 babies died.
Hmm.
And he said that he did not inform his boss, the immediate boss, who is the prime minister. He
Hmm.
did not inform the team, which would be the cabinet, that have
Hmm.
what is called collective responsibility. And he
Definitely.
did not inform the people of Jamaica
Hmm.
because he didn't want to panic.
Hmm.
Talk to us
Which
about
is, I used the word a while ago, and I'm going to use it again. Um, the minister has tried to pull wool over the eyes of the Jamaican people. You
it.
know, um, his reasoning of why he took the decision not to inform his cabinet colleagues, his boss, the prime minister, and their prime minister was only told after that particular media outlet bust the story,
Right.
right? But that's another thing. But let's just look at what happened. The minister claims he did not know until September when this happened. The minister claims.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any minister whose worth is salt, whether he's on vacation and he's in Tahiti, right, on vacation, and something as dramatic as this happened, you are telling me that no technocrat take up the phone and call the minister, right? I'm recalling something that happened when Riverton dump was on fire. The then minister Butch Ascot was in Japan on a tour, and him could shot him tour to come back down. He's not a firefighter,
But
right? But him come back
it's
home.
his responsibility, so he
It's
had
his
to come back.
responsibility. So you telling me now that the minister, you have it was what? I think it was 7 babies who died in the month of July,
July.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that magnitude of death, that number of death, that multiply that by 2 of the number of grieving parents. And then you can add multiply that by another 4
For
of
the
the
families.
grandparents, right? And then you can add a whole lot of siblings and so on. And that amount of people is affected by a unfortunate situation in one of your facility, and nobody took up the phone and called the minister. I find that hard to believe. Very, very hard to believe. And we have said as much in the parliament when we asked the minister, right? That you are saying that such happened and nobody told you, right? Secondly, the that has happened. The minister called in Paho to look at the um the situation there. And interestingly, I've been made to understand that the same recommendations Paho made in the 2013, when was it Fenton had the unfortunate situation, whenever it was,
maybe up, yeah, 2013, 2014, somewhere
14,
thereabout.
right? The same recommendations were made, you know, by the PAHO team, right? Now, the minister is coming to tell the country that the full report of PAHO cannot be released because PAHO does not like these things to be released, right? And
Have
further,
you seen a
and
copy of it,
no,
Dr. Guy?
no, and further, and further, that there is a lot of technical um, jargon in it that many people not understand. Now, my answer to that
Wow. Many
is that
many people would not understand.
is that good sense, not even good sense, sense does not only reside at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And we have very eminent persons in this country who can dissect that better than some of the technocrats at the
Let's
Ministry of
clear
Health
something,
and
Dr. Guy.
Wellness.
Let's clear something here. The Minister of Health, Dr. Christopher Tufton, is not a medical doctor.
Mhm.
He has a PhD.
Yes.
But you, Dr. Guy,
Mhm.
you're a medical doctor.
I am.
So, as it relates to that report,
Mhm.
it would stand to reason that you would understand that report much easier than Dr. Tufton.
It would stand to reason, yes.
And a lot of other
Other persons who are
medical
more
doctors,
who are
medical
more qualified than
technologists,
myself, who do not work with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, can understand that.
and some people with common sense, which is not so common.
Which is not so common. You know, you have taken the word out of my mouth still. So the minister has refused to share that with the country. But you know, they have given us what they call a combination of what PAHO says and what they have. Now, there are some interesting things to look at. In terms of the report that the chief medical officer gave to the country, and it shows what has been the deaths and incidences of infection for the 12 months of the year, right? January, the graph showing the various months.
Right.
What is interesting is that in that graph and in the narrative, they, and I'm going to be kind now, miscommunicated to the people of this country by saying that the number of deaths from Klebsiella, which was the germ that killed, unfortunately, killed the children, the
Mhm.
babies, and they showed a graph only of Klebsiella over the 12-month period. Now,
Oh,
there are other types. There are
of
other
bacteria.
types of neonatal infections caused by other bacteria, which can lead to death as well.
And they didn't
Now,
put that in the
where
graph.
are those? Where are those? It is only Klebsiella that was dealt with. So the people of this country were left with the notion that, hey, right, we only had a spike in July, August, September, right, of infections, right? We are not being told the full story.
With all of that said, though, Dr. Guy,
Mhm.
what do you say to Jamaicans who are saying that the opposition has been soft on these guys?
Part
And
of the
tonight,
challenge,
tonight we're zooming in on Dr. Christopher Tufton.
well, let me say something. Part of our challenge that we have is one in the parliament. Sometimes we are not allowed, as was the case in Point here, where the baby situation came up and the leader of the opposition was not allowed to continue to ask his question of the Minister of Health,
Mhm.
right? The speaker
Mhm.
then, right,
Because,
prevented
because
him from doing it.
because one of
Right?
the things that I was observing is that he was not grilled the way or Dr. Fenton Ferguson was grilled. And we're not talking about tit for tat and butter for fish here. We are just
Mhm.
talking about the opposition getting a fair chance to pose the questions that are relevant to the minister.
And that is one. Two, if I may be a little objective as well in relation to this, um, the the fourth estate, the fourth estate,
Mhm.
like you,
Yeah,
right, the media,
yeah.
they have a certain inclination now, and they don't necessarily want to bring news of other things. But I think part of our remit now is to find other ways and means to get this across to the people of the country. And
Definitely.
it may involve social media, it may involve town hall meetings, it may involve us on programs like this,
Yes.
where we can speak to what we know without really, right? Speak to the truth. Tell them
Just
what
the
you know.
truth.
What are the
Just
facts?
the
That's all.
truth. Yeah. That's the only mantra, the truth.
That's all
But
we need to do. And it's statistics, you can lie with statistics now, but statistics don't lie.
Dr. Guy, health across the island now. Let's move it to the other hospital. Spanish Town Hospital. We hear this young lady came out and said that she was not attend to her baby died. We hear that people are dying in wheelchairs. There are no beds, not adequate doctors. Speak to us on what it is that you know that is happening across the island now.
All right. The minister said in another program earlier on, so a couple of days ago, that he, without fear of contradiction from anyone,
Mm-hmm.
he can say that the health sector is better in terms of the country is better in terms of access to healthcare today than they were 7 years ago. Okay.
Talk to me.
And I say in response to that, that is almost akin, Colin, listen to me. It's almost akin to go into a community or a series of community and you put in pipes for potable water, right? And the
Mhm.
pipes and infrastructure, everything is there. But for the 7 years, you don't have no water flowing through the pipes. So basically, what he's telling us is that access is there. Fine, access is
There,
there.
there, there are more pipes now,
There are more pipes now,
but
but
no
you're
water.
not getting any water because you're not getting the quality of service when you get to the hospitals. They're overcrowded, they're short-staffed, there's lack of resources in the hospital. A man who gets fractured and needs a pin and plate for the orthopedic surgery has to go buy it because the government not provide it, right? Simple things. You don't remember a time when people, and even now, people carry their own sheets to the hospital,
Mhm.
right? Because the hospital sometimes don't have it, right? So what has happened? COVID has really exposed an underbelly, the underbelly of the health sector, exposed everything raw to the country. And even though we are in a post, well, not totally post COVID, but the numbers, we're not in any phase right now where the demand on hospital beds. We have people suffering out there still. We have people still on the floors. People wait 2 or 3 days to access medical care. Look at Bustamante Hospital for Children. We had an outbreak of viral illnesses the other day, right? And Buster couldn't handle it, right?
So,
Parents were
so,
there waiting for many days.
so the minister bragged that you is now taking children for free.
You is taking children for free but paid for by the government of Jamaica. So each case that goes to UWI has
Mhm.
to be paid for by the government of Jamaica.
No, but I didn't get that part, Dr. Guy.
When you didn't get that part.
No, we didn't get
Well, they
get the
should have
part.
gotten that part. An arrangement has been made for UWI that University Hospital will start accepting patients under the age of 18 years old
Mhm.
who cannot be seen at not 18, whatever age, who would
But
normally be seen
children.
at Bustamante Hospital, children, that
Mhm.
they can now be seen at University Hospital. The government had to pay for that.
How much did that cost the
No,
government?
I
Or
don't know.
is
I
that
don't know.
program still going on?
No, that has stopped now. It
It
was
has
only
stopped.
for that particular period. But they would have paid for that.
But we would love to know, Dr. Guy, what did that cost the country?
Well, that is going to be asked in the sectoral.
When will you be presenting in your
Well,
sectoral debate?
sectoral questions. No, man, that's going to be asked in the Standing Finance Committee on Wednesday.
Okay, on
My
this Wednesday.
sectoral is up either in April, May, when the
Also,
sectoral debates usually
that's
are.
still some time to come.
Hmm. But
When
Wednesday is when I'm going to be asking of the Minister of Health certain questions.
when we look, Dr. Guy, at Type B hospital like a Port Antonio,
Hmm.
and I must bring Port Antonio in the mix. A parish with approximately 80,000 people.
Mhm.
if you get a broken toe
Mhm.
coming in from Millbank, you have to end up in Sentence Bay. How do we fix issues like those?
Why St. Anne's Bay out of
Because most of the transfer from Port Antonio
goes to St. Anne's Bay
needs to go to the Sentence Bay
Regional
Hospital,
Hospital?
the head of the regional hospital.
Mhm. All right. How do we fix that? Well, there are many ways you can fix that. One of the things is that Anota Bay Hospital, which is near St. Anne's Bay, has an orthopedic unit there.
Mhm.
And I don't understand why people from Port Antonio would need to go all the way to St. Anne's Bay for orthopedic cases or orthopedic surgery. St.
But
Anne's Bay.
my concern though, Dr. Guy, even to go to Natabe is a concern for me.
No, no, no.
Why in
But
this day and age? Because hold on, I remember when I was about 9, 10 years old,
Mhm,
I fractured my right arm
mhm,
and it was fixed by Dr. Parvatini
mhm,
at the Port Antonio Hospital.
mhm.
So what I'm saying, now we are going backwards.
No, what has happened
In
now?
the 80s, we
It.
could do it, and in the 2023, we can't do it.
I'm going to speak from a medical perspective now. We have become so specialized in our treatment for patients. We have become, as a country, a bit litigious in terms of how we approach things. And part of what is happening is that because there are specialists in the areas that deal with it,
Mhm.
then there is a greater tendency to rely on the specialist to look at it. Because the truth is, I mean, and we'll go back to the example you make. You fracture your toe, right? The ordinary general practitioner can treat it, If you know displace
Right.
a toe, you just band it to the next one for support and you
And
keep it for a couple of weeks and it's all right. I mean, the toe is a simple case, but the
right.
point is there are other fractures that can be treated, and it's just that the level of training of some of these people who would want to do that is not there.
Mhm.
Let's be realistic, right? And sometimes you will find that a specialist, for example, a general surgeon, might not necessarily want to undertake an orthopedic procedure, whereas those doctors of years gone by, right?
We
Same when
deal
you
with it.
mentioned Dr. Parvantinini,
Yeah.
um, you had in Port Antonio, you had Dr. Who came off Dr. Williams, right?
Dr. E. Singh.
Right, these guys, yeah, she, right? I mean, not a guy, Dr. Yeasting, right? She
Yeah.
and others would do that. But we know we have super specialization and compartmentalization. And it I wouldn't say it's a way of the world, but this is what we have been finding that is happening in certain countries, and we have been aping them. You
Tell
know,
me. Go
no,
ahead.
before you ask the next question, it's for example, like you go to university hospital, you go to a clinic, a specialist clinic for an orthopedic thing, and you have a cold. And you say, doctor, you can prescribe something for me for the cold. It's a no, you're gonna go to see that other doctor now over the respiratory clinic. All right, question.
Is it far fetched to believe that every parish should have, at a minimum, a type B hospital? And
No,
let me just say for people, the type B hospital would facilitate more of these specialist doctors that Dr. Guy just spoke about. Is it far fetched?
it's not far-fetched. We live in an age now where there's more requirement for more technical type of treatment. Um, And for example, I mean, years gone by, to say for example, a lady comes in with fibroids and you're going to do a hysterectomy, and you chop her tummy to get to the uterus to take out the fibroids. No, you can do it by laparoscopic surgery, which is shorter time in hospital, more
Mhm.
aesthetically pleasing in terms of the outlook after it and all that sort of thing. The truth is that um, with that requirement, plus with the need to give better care and treatment, it is not far-fetched to have type B hospitals in each parish. Now, the type B hospital, one will have to determine what level of service at the barest minimum that you'd want to give. So you need to have a general surgeon there. You need to have somebody who deals with obstetrics and gynecology. You need to have a physician, a specialist physician there to deal with those cases, right? Those are at the least you'll have specialists in those three areas. Each of these parish hospitals ought to have that, right? And you can treat the patients better in that environment as opposed to shunting them away all to the regional hospitals. The regional hospitals, the type A hospitals like KPH and university hospitals will deal with a super specialization, you know. So
Mhm.
maybe the urologist would be at the regional hospital and at the type A hospitals, but the general surgeon, the consultant physician, and the obstetrics and gynecologist ought to be at those type B hospitals in each of the islands dotted across, and each of
And
these
what
islands.
about a pediatrician?
Oh yes, that's where I wanted it because I mean it follows. You get the obstetrician and gynecology deliver the baby, so the
Right.
pediatrician has to be there. My bad, because those are the four specialties minimum that you require at these hospitals, right? So it is not far fetched to answer your
But so
question.
it's not too much for me to say that Port Antonio Hospital, and you know why that is kind of dear to me. At
Mhm.
a minimum, must be stepped up to at least a type B hospital.
You only have a general surgeon there now.
Right. We have a gynecologist there as well.
Okay,
And I
good.
think a pediatrician comes once per week, which for me that is not adequate.
Not enough.
No. But as we're wrapping up, Dr. Guy, we're only doing this for a while. We're wrapping up, but let's get back to holding the minister accountable.
Mhm.
The $1 trillion budget. Are you satisfied with the allocation to health?
All right. The allocation in this budget to health is probably about all right, let's put it another way. The World Health Organization stipulates that for most countries, the health budget should be at least 6% of GDP.
Mhm.
Okay. We're currently struggling around 4% as a country of GDP for the health budget. And interestingly, the bigger component of the health ministry now is salaries and for technical persons. The regional health authorities take a significant amount of the money.
Mhm.
And you realize that there was a review of the regional health authority some years ago, and that report recommended that some of the posts in the regional health authority be shunted back to the parent ministry because you have replication across four of the four areas of the country, which, if done, could save the country a lot of money and spend that money into providing actual health care for the people. So the point is that in terms of the budget, it is far below what would be expected to provide a proper health care for any country.
Let's
No, double World Health Organization, 6% at the minimum.
at
There's
minimum.
some countries, USA, come what 13%. Some
Where's Canada?
I can't be certain right off, but some Scandinavian countries are higher than that
Mhm.
because they put a lot of emphasis on healthcare for their people. So we are about just 4.5%, around about 4%. So we need to.
So you're not satisfied with what is allocated in this budget for health?
No, we're not satisfied. We can never be satisfied because if we were satisfied, then if we
And
if
how much
we
of the
were
budget are you
satisfied, it would mean if we were satisfied, what it would mean is that we are satisfied with the conditions that exist right now.
right?
In nominal amounts, the budget has been increased, but in real terms, I don't think it has been increased.
What amount of that is going to marketing? Because we realize that the Ministry of Health does a lot of marketing. And
It is buried in the budget documents. We could ask that as a specific question on Wednesday.
mhm. Fitzroy is asking where on which media will you be casting those questions? Fitzroy, PBCJ is a
Yes.
safe bet that you could go on PBCJ and you can watch the sitting of the parliament, the standing committee, the PAAC, all those you can watch them on the PBCJ.
PBA channel.
They carry those live. Dr. Guy, let me ask you a question, a general question here. Because as I just mentioned, marketing, I saw the Minister of Constitutional and what? Legal Affairs?
Legal and constitutional
And
affairs.
Constitutional Affairs doing an ad for whatever changes is going to be dealing with the Joint Select Committee on constitutional changes. And
Mhm,
instead of saying the government of Jamaica,
mhm.
she said the Andrew Holness led administration.
Administration.
Is
Mhm.
that proper?
Well, it is not proper, but it is
Or,
something that we have seen steep, creeped in the culture of every government minister who gets up to speak.
but
Right?
it's a bit different from when they are speaking than when you're running an advertisement
Yes.
on
No, that's
TV.
that's that's im-
Am
that's
I the
out,
only person
that's
who have a
that's
problem with it?
that's out of order. You can't use the government and taxpayers' resources to do that. The government.
And when the opposition is going to say something about this?
I don't know. It's the first I'm hearing about the ad.
Well, it is on TV every minute. And she
Well,
said, the Andrew Wellness led administration. And I'm like, isn't this a government of Jamaica initiative?
Well, you see, one of the government outlets has become so polarized and politically polarized that it's hard to really believe that they are supposed to be informing the general population on behalf of the government of Jamaica.
As a member, one of the few members of parliament, one of the 14, Dr. Guy,
Mhm,
I just want to ask you a few quick general questions before we wrap up here. Um, as it relates to the SSL saga, Dr. Guy, the Minister of Finance came on and he said that the FBI is involved in the investigation. We heard the police came out and said that the local authority, they have the capacity to investigate this matter. And if they find foreign connections, then they
then
would
the
call in the
NFBI.
FBI. Then
Mhm.
they came back and put out a statement that they were talking about the
The
local.
local. Mhm.
What are your views on this?
Well, somebody is misinforming the population and the people. And I think I used that term earlier on in terms of pulling wool over people's eyes. I think it's another case of it here. You can fool the people sometimes, but you can't fool them all the while.
Again, when will the opposition ask the minister to provide some evidence? We're not asking for the information that the FBI is getting.
Mhm.
Some evidence to say to the people of Jamaica that here's it, the FBI is really involved.
Well, it is something that should be directed to the spokesman in that particular area, which will be the opposition spokesman on finance and the
Mhm,
public service,
mhm.
who who's who the minister of that particular ministry was the one who said so. So the question should be directed from him to that particular minister, and
The
it's something we
overall,
could advance.
the
That's
overall,
Julian.
I understand that, Dr. Guy. I'm just reading a message from Gilly out of Toronto
Yeah,
saying,
12.2%.
yeah, that's for
Mm-hmm.
Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Because Canada L thing is really up there,
Yeah, I
We can
know.
tell you that. The next thing, Dr. Guy, is about the tabling of the Integrity Commission report.
Mm-hmm.
I am a bit lost here. They said that the report was ready from October. The
Mm-hmm.
question I want to ask is why did it take so long to be tabled in the parliament?
I don't know because based on what was also reported, the Parliament got it the Monday.
Mhm.
It was tabled the Tuesday.
The, the,
Right.
the,
So
the-
the whole up is not at the Parliament.
it's not at the parliament.
No. Mm-mm.
So the real question I want to ask,
Why did
did
the
the,
integrity?
in- did the Integrity Commission hold that report until they get the finding from the Director of Corruption Prosecution? Is that the proper way? Is that proper? And was that what happened?
Well, at the end of the day, it would seem that that was what happened. As to whether it's proper or not, now, I to me it suggests that it is not the right thing to have been done. Um, but I am going to guardedly say that I cannot with any certainty to say what the particular section of the Integrity Commission Act says in relation to these reports. I've heard the positions of some legal luminaries who said that it is because of the gap clause why they could not have done both reports at the same time or one just after the other and the same day at the parliament. But I've heard counter arguments from other legal luminaries say a foolishness that, you know. So I don't know, and I think the only place that interpretation could be properly adjudicated is in the court of law, which I suspect somebody is going to try and do.
It's going to test it soon.
Mhm.
The final one, Dr. Guy, the postponement of the local government election. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think our people should act like Sri Lanka. Oh, you didn't
And
know what happened?
what happened in Sri Lanka?
Well, the people protested against the postponement of local government election. Sri Lanka is in a worse state than we are economically right now because of what has happened recently. But the government postponed the election because they had no money, and the people that some opposition members protested. People in the street
And at the
and
time, Sri
police tear
Lanka,
gas them.
and at the time, Sri Lanka really never have no money for you.
No, I'm talking about within the past couple of days, you know.
But Sri Lanka really not have no money.
Exactly.
It's not
But,
like Jamaica. Because remember, our
that's the
minister said
point I'm making.
do it well.
That's the point I'm making. People zealously guard their constitutional rights.
I believe that if we were in slavery now, we would never be free with the behavior of our people. Because our people seems like they take everything. I said, sure, no problem. It's all right, make it go on.
Jamaica, no problem.
Jamaica, no problem. Dr. Guy, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for all the information that you gave us tonight. But before you go, is this your last term in office?
And that particular question, if it were asked a couple of weeks ago, I would have said no comments. But I can safely say, no, this is my last term in political representation.
So whenever the general election call,
I will not be a candidate.
you won't be a candidate.
No.
You have served Jamaica well, Dr. Guy. Thanks for your service. Thanks for talking to us tonight. And all the best, my brother.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure talking to you. Good evening, listeners.
Blessings.
And I'm sure we'll talk another time.
Definitely, Dr. Guy. Thanks very much.
All right, Colin. Bless, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks to Dr. Morris, Guy, for coming on this evening and filling us in on the information. Subscribe to the channel. Share it. This is just the beginning. We are going to do great things with the channel. Great things, may I tell you, Gilly. Share it. Make certain you click the notification button because when we come on, because you see, we're building up this kind of capacity that even if we're on the road, we can go live. So, whenever time that there's something that you ought to know, I will not talk about propaganda. Solid information. That's what we're going to be giving to you on Portland Spice TV. Thanks, everybody. Have yourselves a wonderful night. Blessings.